Alright, I was recently asked to react to a video of Andrew Tate sitting with Muhammad Hijab talking about why he converted to Islam, even though he probably hasn't really.
They say, well, you were religious before. I was like, religious before how? Christian? What does Christian mean?
So at the beginning of the clip, he says, I was raised Christian, I'm from a Christian country, and he's describing how people would say, oh, you were religious before you became a Muslim. Well, you weren't Christian, though. Your life did not reflect the life of a Christian. And even the mere fact that you began saying that you were a Christian and then ended by saying, what does Christian mean? Well, surely you'd know if you were one. So you weren't a Christian. You're not a Christian who has converted to Islam. You're just a man. And Islam accommodates, it enables, it satisfies the flesh exclusively for men. That's why you've chosen it. That's it. Not because it's true. A few people commented asking how exactly Islam satisfies the flesh. One commenter said, Christianity also satisfies the flesh of men. Islam only allows 4 wives. I'm not sure if the commenter meant for these two things to be taken as a comparison, that in Christianity men are permitted to have more than 4 wives, making it the fleshlier religion. If so, where does the God of the Bible exhort men to take more than 4 wives? Where, in fact, does the God of the Bible exhort men to take more than 1? Now, you may point to men of the Old Testament who had multiple wives and concubines and whatnot, but that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking, where does God teach, give the rule that marriage can be between one man and multiple women? The Christian teaching on marriage is very clear. It is clear from the beginning. Marriage is between one man and one woman. The Quran teaches that a man may be polygamous with up to 4 wives and then some. So the 4 wives limit isn't really a limit, which is a completely undisciplined view of men. It's like almost that there's no need for a man to be sexually disciplined in Islam, because there are all of these allowances for him. So for what reason would he be sexually disciplined, which would seep into other areas of the man's life? The purpose of marriage is to accommodate the sexual needs of undisciplined men. Yes, there is the requirement of being responsible for the wives that you take, at least the free free wives, the women of the free people. So not all wives. It's not a rule for wives. It's not an assurance for wives. So yes, there is this basic sense of responsibility. You know, feed them, clothe them, make sure they've got a roof over their head, stuff like that. You do that for your animals. Like, you've got a responsibility as a human being to do such basic things toward your animals. So that is what marriage seems to be for, especially for the Prophet of Islam. However, Muhammad wouldn't allow polygamy for his son-in-law, for his daughter's husband, which is interesting. Why not? It is allowed for him. It is allowed for his followers. But it isn't allowed for this specific man. The reason is because it would hurt his daughter. His daughter, Fatima, who was married to a man called Ali, she didn't want her husband to be bringing home multiple wives and or sex slaves. I heard Allah's apostle who was on the pulpit saying, Banu Hisham bin al-Mughiri have requested me to allow them to marry their daughter to Ali. But I don't give permission and will not give permission unless Ali divorces my daughter in order to marry theirs. Because Fatima is part of my body and I hate what she hates to see and what hurts her hurts me. Oh, isn't that nice? So let's get this clear. Despite Muhammad being very much aware that polygamy is hurtful and insulting to women, he is aware because this is how he behaves toward a woman that he actually cares about, his daughter, meaning he doesn't care about other women. So he's aware that it's insulting and hurtful, but he still practices it and he permits his followers to do so too, except for Ali. Further, Allah, being the figment of Muhammad's imagination that he so clearly is, or worse, gave Muhammad special permission to marry more than 4 wives, as many as he desired, or to take them as slaves and concubines. Shocking. O Prophet, we have made lawful to you those of your wives whose dowers you have paid, and those women who come into your possession out of the slave girls granted by Allah, and the daughters of your paternal uncles and aunts, and your maternal uncles and aunts, who have migrated with you, and the believing woman who gives herself to the Prophet, if the Prophet may desire her. This privilege is for you only, not for the other believers. Really? Muhammad may marry his first cousins. It's weird, man. But the capstone, the cherry on top of these special marriages occurs when Muhammad also marries the ex-wife of his adopted son. And the reason she became his adopted son's ex-wife was because Muhammad saw her in a state of undress and desired her. And so his adopted son's decision to divorce his wife very much had Muhammad in the background. You know, once the divorce was final, Allah reveals to him that this marriage between him and his daughter-in-law is totally cool. It's totally legal, totally moral. It's good stuff. It is not for a believing man or a believing woman when Allah and his messenger have decided a matter, that they should thereafter have any choice about the affair. And whoever disobeys Allah and his messenger has certainly strayed into clear error. And remember, Muhammad, when you said to the one on whom Allah bestowed favor and you bestowed favor, keep your wife and fear Allah, while you concealed within yourself that which Allah is to disclose. And you feared the people while Allah has more right that you fear him. So when Zayd had no longer any need for her, we married her to you in order that there not be upon the believers any discomfort concerning the wives of their adopted sons when they no longer have need for them. And ever is the command, yada 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 yada. So Muhammad is saying that Allah is saying that it's totally cool. No one worry about it. It's fine. I can marry my daughter-in-law. It's great. Allah's cool with it. After basically making them divorce. Wow, what a great fake God. Another commenter said this: he could satisfy the flesh plenty before being a Muslim. If anything, it restricts this. So how is that the only reason? What is the flesh? The flesh refers to old, sinful attitudes and mindsets to which we are enslaved until we believe in Jesus. When we believe, we are freed from that bondage, and from that point you walk in obedience to the Spirit and not to the flesh. So what you decide to do with your body first begins in those attitudes and mindsets, and those are either going to be of your old nature, or if you have come to Christ, they will be of your new nature. So the flesh isn't only referring to, for example, drinking alcohol, which Muslims think is against their religion, which it actually isn't. We'll get to that in a minute. Even if it was against the religion to drink alcohol, and let's say that Andrew Tate loves drinking alcohol and he'd have to give that up, well, big whoop. The point is, as he says, as we'll hear him say, Islam fits him as he is. Islam doesn't challenge his fallen nature, his way of living, his attitudes and mindsets. It suits him. That's why he chose it. So even if being a Muslim came with some restriction, and it also comes with many allowances and promises for men, which could be very appealing to a man like Tate. All false religions and or cults come with some restrictions, some rules, some boundaries. It makes it feel real. And this is all based on the assumption that his conversion is genuine. He may very well be doing what he has encouraged his followers to do, which is to stir up controversy and drama for attention, to remain relevant, which is the worldly person's greatest goal. That's why people follow trends. It's to fit in, to be relevant to the world. So Islam may provide him with some shallow sense of spirituality or spiritual relevance, which in reality is religiosity. It is, I can earn my way to heaven. I can attain paradise, because I'm amazing. Anyway, it definitely provides him with some public relevance. So it could be him using Islam, could be Muslims using him. The reason Muslims would use him is because he has a large following of young men. And what problem is Islam facing, and has been facing for some years? It is that young men are leaving Islam. Andrew Tate could potentially bring some young men to Islam or back to Islam. So a religion that has the appearance of spirituality or spiritual relevance, but lacks actual spiritual truth, satisfies the flesh. So we're not just talking about the body when we say the flesh, or at least I'm not, coming from a Christian perspective. Such religiosity doesn't renew a man's heart and mind. Rather, it encourages, it feeds, promotes things like pride, self-righteousness, a desire for status, for wealth, for women, for material gain. And that's his attraction to Islam. It's like the religious leaders of Jesus' era who would pray and fast in public. Yes, they're fasting. Yes, they're praying. Those are good things. Those are spiritual practices. But they're doing it to show people that they're doing it. They're doing it so they can be seen. They have received their reward already. It is something that satisfies the flesh. He calls Islam the last religion. And what he means is that he believes it will endure because of its aggression and violence towards criticism and threat. Another commenter said he literally has to stop drinking and having hella girlfriends and committing adultery. Again, it's not actually true that he has to stop drinking. Islam doesn't actually forbid alcohol. Wine or strong drink is good and wholesome according to Allah. It is a gift from Him. And from the fruit of the date palm and the vine, ye go out wholesome drink and food. Behold, in this also is a sign for those who are wise. So the wise, smart people can see that this is a gift from God. It's a miracle. It's a wonderful thing. And the stupid people, they can't see it. As I said earlier, it was only towards the end of Muhammad's life that he said that wine drink was from shaitan, which is strange because, it's from Allah. Do what you will with that. And there will be wine in paradise. The description of the paradise promised to the righteous is that in it are rivers of fresh water, rivers of milk that never changes in taste, rivers of wine, delicious to drink, and rivers of pure honey. So, what's the deal? Is Allah gonna purchase some wine from shaitan and, give it to those righteous people in paradise? Everyone was drunk. Muhammad was drunk, his companions were drunk. Anyway, having hella girlfriends. Also, totally cool. Totally cool if you're going to be true to your religion, to your prophet, to your book, to your God, as previously mentioned. Wives, slave girls. There are more rights afforded to women than to men. You should never overcompensate like this. You're not merely saying that Islam teaches or promotes equality between men and women. You're saying that Islam affords women more rights than men. You'd have a hard time proving the former. Why have you done this to yourself? Islamic rule, Sharia law, is a nightmare for women. Look at what's happening in Iran as one example, one recent example. The thing about what's happening in Iran is that no one seems to be pointing out the fact that the reason women are being discriminated against like they are, and discriminate is a light word to use, the reason is because it comes from the Islamic rule. It comes from their adherence to Islam. Why would people, Muslims, who truly follow Islam, why would they reform Islam? Why would you protest for them to do so? The Quran oppresses women specifically. It targets women. Women are an omen. Women are the majority of the inhabitants of hell. Women are deficient in intelligence, in religion. This is the Islamic view of women. A man's responsibility to a woman is one and the same as his responsibility to his cattle. So the hadith are the reports of Muhammad's words and actions outside of the Quran. Two reliable hadith collectors and editors are Bukhari and Muslim. After the Quran, for the majority of Muslims, the hadith come second in importance and sacredness. And in the hadith, we find time and time again that the husband controls the sex life. Your wives are your tilth. Go then unto your tilth as you may desire. If a woman doesn't want to have sex for whatever reason, angels curse her. If a man invites his wife to sleep with him and she refuses to come to him, then the angels send their curses on her till morning. Husbands are a degree above their wives. Wives have the same rights as the husbands have on them in accordance with the generally known principles. Of course, men are a degree above them in status. Gender inequality shows up in a theological context too. The Prophet said, "I looked at paradise and found poor people forming the majority of its inhabitants. And I looked at hell and saw that the majority of its inhabitants were women. Why? It is weakly argued by some Muslim polemicists that the reason the majority of the inhabitants of hell are women is math. See, there are more women than there are men on earth, and so it would just make sense that there would be more of them in hell, to which my immediate response would be, well, why aren't there more of them in heaven, in paradise? No. The reason that they make up the majority in hell is because of their harshness and ingratitude toward their husbands. It has nothing to do with math. And nothing is said about a husband's ingratitude toward his wife or his harshness toward his wife. See, because they're not the same in value. They're not the same in status. Muhammad was also pretty superstitious. I heard the Prophet saying, evil omen is in 3 things: the horse, the woman, and the house. What did the horse do? Males get a double share of inheritance over females no matter what. A woman's testimony is worth half that of a man's. Why? Well, because one of them may forget something, because they're irba. This is a comment on womankind. It's not specific situations, it's just women forget stuff because we are deficient in our intellect. And so where witnesses are necessary and you don't have a man, you need 2 women to make up what you've lacked in one man. Women are second rate, not at all comparable to men in Islam. This hadith removes any ambiguity about the woman's mind or a woman's abilities. Once Allah's apostle went out to the musalla to offer the prayer, then he passed by the women and said, "O women, give alms, as I have seen that the majority of the dwellers of hellfire were you, women." They asked, "Why is it so?" He replied, "You curse frequently and are ungrateful to your husbands. I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. A cautious, sensible man could be led astray by some of you." The women asked, "O Allah's apostle, what is deficient in our intelligence and religion?" He said, "Is not the evidence of 2 women equal to the witness of 1 man?" They replied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in her intelligence. Isn't it true that a woman can neither pray nor fast during her menses?" The women replied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in her religion." I missed talking about Islam. So, the Islamic source materials clearly state that men are superior to women. And not only that, it encourages, at least among men, an undisciplined pursuit of fleshly desires. Even the way that Islam is spread has been spread historically and is still spread. It relies on fleshly motivations such as power and control, wealth, war booty, women.
First you get the sugar, then you get the power, then you get the women.
It is spread by the sword. It is spread by violence. It is forced. And anyone who comes against it, anyone who criticizes Islam or Allah or Muhammad, the threat is death unless you convert to Islam or pay them like you would the mafia. Many Muslims, especially in the West, believe and hope for some kind of refashioning of Islam. Some are even led to believe that Islam is and always has been this fair, equal, feminist religion. But that was never Muhammad's intention. Equality between men and women was never a thing. So what people are essentially trying to do, whether they realize it or not, is they're trying to Christianize Islam. My name is Christ Defender. I defend the Christian faith. I answer questions and criticisms concerning Christianity. If you like what I do and you would like to support me, hit the Patreon link in the description below. If you're not too sure yet, but you're intrigued, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, check me out. Okay, bye!